it is problematic to know that, and it's just disappointing. Sorry, more than problematic, disappointing to know that you had all this time to have these schools ready for these children, and not only had all this time, but you've had so much time to practice making sure that these schools are ready, and yet we are still failing at this. And I don't think it's just the minister, because last night I placed the responsibility and the failures at the feet of the minister, who in this case is Glenys Hannah Martin. But this has been happening under the PLP and the FNM. Now, I know some years ago the FNM did a much better job. When school opened, everything was ready, everything was set up, everything was waiting, and it's like they came to office with the plan of how they were gonna address it and make sure that when schools are open, they opened on time, and that all of the obligations in relation to contractual concerns and repairs were dealt with, and they did that. You got to give them that. Now, under the PLP, for some reason, I don't know what the problem is, but I think that you have a lot of these permanent secretaries who are running these ministries on behalf of these ministers, and they're failing the ministers when it comes to making sure these things are done. Because if you're a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education and you've been there long, or permanent secretary in any ministry, you should be able to have a game plan for how you're going to make sure that things are functioning smoothly and properly and effectively. And so I believe not only do we need to fire some ministers, fire some political parties, but we need to fire these permanent secretaries who get to sit in these offices and hold these jobs even after one party loses and another party takes office. Because if you realize that when you really think about it, these permanent secretaries don't run for office, They govern this country, and they do a lot of things. They control these ministries. The parliamentarians, the ministers have to go through them to get a lot of things done, to get a lot of decisions made. They help the ministers with strategizing. And if you ain't have no skills on strategizing, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, why are you there? They need to fire them. You understand what I'm saying? You fire them, put them somewhere, but you understand? So, because it's not always about the ministers, not always, because a lot of these political parties, these persons just come into office and then they're placed in charge of these ministries, and it's hoped that they are able to work with the persons who are in those ministries so that they can get things done. But if you have permanent secretaries with political agendas, or who are failing you, or who are taking advantage of the fact that they are in office, and the way they sit in office, at the end of the day, the decisions still have to go to them, and they are unable to make productive moves where you can see actual changes, then you need to get rid of them. You understand what I'm saying to you? It is time for some permanent secretaries to be fired. It is just like the other day when Brave Davis gave some wrong financial numbers. He gave some absolute wrong numbers in relation to the surplus. And so what we have is contractors claiming that they can't be paid, and that's why some repairs weren't done. What we have is some persons who provided the government with supplies claiming that the government has not met its obligation in respect of dealing with their concerns and paying them for the services that they provided, or paying them for the supplies that they provided.